Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the Entrepreneur with myself, Sharif Islam. Now, normally on the show, if you guys have just tuned in and haven't seen the Entrepreneur show before, we speak about a certain individual, the passion and the drive and the success to business. But today's show is slightly different. We'll be speaking about a specific enterprise. And with myself, I have today Ashid Ali, who is the principal of London Enterprise Academy. Welcome to the show, Ashid bhai.
It's a pleasure to be here, Sharif bhai. Thank you.
How are you today? Good?
Alhamdulillah, good, very busy,
Fantastic.
tired.
Fantastic. Now, let me just ask you, London Enterprise Academy. Tell me a little bit about it and how is it related to our show?
Okay, so London Enterprise Academy is a secondary school. It's a small secondary school.
Right.
The ideas came when Michael Gove, when he was the Secretary of State for Education, he offered teachers, businesses, families, parents opportunities to set up school.
Right.
To set up school, you need a business idea. You needed to come up with a vision, values, ethos. You needed a business case.
Right.
You had to demonstrate demand. You had to demonstrate capacity that you will be able to run it as a business so that you're not going back to the Department for Education saying,
Okay.
I need money, I can't pay wages, I can't pay the bills.
Right.
So I created a team of people back in 2013.
Right.
I came up with the idea. I had a fantastic team of people, academics, people from the city, people who've been working in education, in secondary education for many, many years,
Right.
school leaders. And we put a bid through and they invited us to do an interview along with some really tough grilling.
Right.
And alhamdulillah, we went through the grilling stage and we were successful.
Brilliant.
The challenge came is in trying to find an appropriate site and building in Tower Hamlets. We know the constraints of land. There is hardly any space available. So we were lucky enough to find a 7-story office block, which was a former bank.
Right.
And trying to convert that into a school in itself was a challenge. So
Right.
once we got to that stage, yes, you're negotiating with a range of civil servants, as well as construction people, as well as trying to recruit students, convincing parents that your vision, you've got just about to get a building. We can't tell them where it is just in case it falls through. You've got no exam results, you've got no teachers, and you're trying to sell a school based on your idea and your credibility.
Okay, that is a challenge, isn't it?
Alhamdulillah, the people of Tower Hamlets responded extremely well to me.
Fantastic.
Because a lot of my time when I moved to London in 2002, I spent working in Tower Hamlets.
Where did you move to London from?
I'm from Oldham.
Okay.
I'm brought up in Oldham. I'm not born in Oldham. I'm born in
The accent is not so strong, but yeah,
it's
you can
not
tell.
that strong, and I'm catching up some of the Cockney and East End, but not enough because I am proud of my background being
I'm
a
sure you
Northerner.
are. So how long have you been in London? From 2013, did you say?
From 2002.
Okay.
Long
So
time,
you've been,
very long
you've
time,
been,
18
you've been here
years.
quite a long time, right?
Yes.
So this particular enterprise started in 2013.
The idea was in 2013.
Okay.
It opened in 2014.
2014, so it took a year to get everything together and then finding the premises and so forth. So how, if you explain to me, what difference do you offer, or is it just the same as any other academy?
Right, it's not same.
Right.
There is different. You have to have a unique selling point, otherwise you will not be able to get the approval. Because if you're going to be the same, why should parents send their children to you? They might as well go to established education institutions which have got track record of delivering results, established teachers. So we had some unique selling points. What we wanted to do was we wanted to make sure that, one, we provide small class size to our students. Two, our vision was to support and encourage our young people to take advantage of the city that they live in.
Right.
You've got townless children who wake up in the morning, they either open the window and look at Canary Wharf, or they look at the Gherkin and Shard, and I'm thinking, this is your home. This is where you need to be aiming for. These are the jobs that should be yours, not people from outside coming in, working a few years, wearing nice suit, driving nice cars, and disappearing.
Absolutely.
That's your backyard, and you need to work with me to realize that vision. And people believe in that vision, and alhamdulillah, we've had.
Do you use that as a selling point? Because it is really interesting
that
what you
in
just
itself is not a selling point. People have to look at my track record.
Absolutely.
You could have salespeople going out there trying to sell you also, right? I'm not a polished salesperson. So
but I mean, the buildings that you mentioned, I mean, it is something to, like you said, the Gherkin and the Shard and stuff like that. These are the things that you look out of your window every morning, and these are the, you envision the dream, and this is where I want to be. And you just quote me with the speech that you made. So if I was a student and you came to me and you said, well, you know what, this is where we will be sending you, something that I would definitely be interested in.
Of course. So the other uniqueness that we had was not only will you get the full day of education and the Key Stage 3 and the GCSE program, I wanted to give you mentoring from city professionals.
Right.
So we bring in people from the city, from Canary Wharf. We've got links with big corporations like Accenture. We've got governors from KPMG. We've got governors who work in Mazars, LLP, PricewaterhouseCoopers.
Right.
So we are trying to use their expertise to leverage some support. So they will come in and do exhibitions to our students. They will invite us to workplace demonstrations. Here today I'm in TV1. I take my students not only to your traditional Bangladeshi TV station, we take them to Sky studios where they make programs. So we want to give them and say, look, you might be now 11 to 14, 15 years old, but in 5 years' time, this is where you want to be. Right? To get there, we're going to get the GCSEs, support you to get to the best possible college. Minimum I want our students to get is university education. I have got friends who went to school with me, they didn't go to university, small numbers, are very successful financially, nice house, nice cars. But majority who become successful, they had to have that university education. And the reason why it's important, at the moment we're living in very tough times. Yes, a lot of people are furloughed, a lot of people are closing their businesses. They will not be able to bounce back.
That's something that we'll be coming into in a short while. Now, as a business, and every business is all about profit and loss, right? How do we work this out in the field that you're in?
Okay, so in education, the way the school's finances are calculated is based on number of students you have. The more students you have, the more money you get.
Absolutely.
If you suddenly lose, about 20 students, your budget next year could be about £170,000 down. Right. So you'll have to make some decisions. Where do you make cuts? So it's important to make sure that I have a 3 to 5 year forecast, and I have a worst case scenario and the best case scenario. The profit does not the profit does not go to any of our governors or shareholders. That's not how it works. But if we end up in the red, I guarantee you the Education Funding Agency will write a warning letter. Absolutely. They will give you a financial notice to improve threat because you are not managing a business as it's supposed to be run. So it's really...
Well, this is what they want to see, results at the end of the day, just the way you would.
And not only that, it's not just the financial management, but also your parents who are trusting you, they want to see results.
Absolutely.
And our results are the GCSE results. And they had to wait 5 years. So it's tough waiting because people think, will that school deliver results? We've trusted our children to this man who came up with an idea. He doesn't even have a Tower Hamlets accent. He's got absolutely no friends or relatives in Tower Hamlets. But we've trusted him. We need the results. Alhamdulillah, in 2019, we delivered really great set of results, which was above national average. And especially in the key subject, our students performed exceptionally well. Brilliant. And they ended up going to some of the top performing demanding colleges in East End of London.
Brilliant, brilliant. Well, you reach your objective if that's the case. Now, with the pandemic, obviously we know that schools and colleges are opened, and I don't know how the government came up with that idea. So, how did it affect you? How did you deal with that?
Of course, it affected us significantly. Right? It has to be business as usual. If the Prime Minister says you're staying open, you're staying open. Right? And in order to stay open, you need to make sure that you've got the appropriate protection for your staff and your students, as well as being able to safely deliver your curriculum. So we were lucky. By being a standalone academy, we were able to procure our own PPE. I started the search in February. So when the first lockdown happened,
which was in March, right?
In March, end of March, we donated masks and gloves and aprons to the local hospital because I knew we wouldn't need it, whereas they did. Right. So this was something that we could do, and other schools also did similar things. Brilliant. But because we were not relying on the local authority to do some of the bargaining for the procurement of gloves and masks and sanitizers, we were able to go out. Yes, initially we paid extortionate amount, but safety is number one.
Absolutely.
Safety is number one, so you can't compromise.
So what are the measures that you took? I mean, other than the normal measures that are put in place?
So
For protecting your students, that is.
Of course. So first we trained all our staff and then our students.
Yeah.
That we are living in different times, that we must make sacrifices.
Unprecedented
so
times, absolutely.
Number one, we've got year group bubbles. Okay, so they stay in the year group on the same floor, all the lessons on the same floor, the teachers move up and down the building. Secondly, our building is actually pretty small. So we can't do the 2 meters.
Right, yeah.
What we do is we put down no contact. Right? No contact. So you're not physically touching anybody.
Okay.
Right? The sanitizer stations all across the school.
All around, yeah. Okay.
They will sanitize their hands as they come in. We provide face masks daily to every student. Daily.
Right.
Not many schools do that. Right? Because there is a cost implication to this.
Absolutely.
But we want to make sure that our students, some of them are quite poor, that they're not reusing old masks which could be contaminated. We want to support them. Then we've increased the washing facilities. So not only your sinks and taps in the toilets and science labs, we've also put taps on the outdoor spaces so that the students have got access to additional facilities. We then separated the younger students from the older students. We altered the start time and finish time for the students, so you've got staggered finish. So they're not mixing in large groups. They're not congregating outside the school, waiting to be picked up. So these are some of the strategies that we had to put in.
Right.
But most importantly, I had to plead with my staff. And if they don't turn up, we can't teach children.
Absolutely.
Right? So I had to plead and say, look, the doctors and nurses made huge sacrifices since March. It's our turn now. We have to be open. If you're not here, I have to get a temporary cover, which is not going to be the same.
That's right, yeah.
So you need to make sure that apart from your immediate household, we are not taking advantage of the 50% of meals. We are not going out there to have the last meal or the last party before the lockdown. Right? And when my staff have shown any symptoms, whether it's a cough or a bit of temperature, right, I have got taxis or some of my support staff driving test kits to the people's houses so that we can get as immediate as possible feedback on the test result. Right? Because if somebody is positive,
I can see,
I'll have to take additional measures.
Yeah, stringent measures were put in place. And obviously that would, the cost implications would be there as well, significantly.
Of course, it's increased our cost significantly, but
I mean, you have to get certain staff to monitor the students as well if they're taking precautions and so forth.
Definitely. We've got risk assessment in place, and people have to come in, additional cleaning team in school, additional staff to supervise the various floors, regular deep cleaning. We buy industrial decontamination teams to come in and make sure every classroom, corridor, staircase is cleaned thoroughly. And it's to reassure the parents, because and I know the black and minority community was at high risk.
That's right,
And the Bangladeshi
especially
was
Bangladeshi, right?
twice as likely. And being a Bangladeshi head teacher, I couldn't have it under my watch that I'm compromising on safety.
Fantastic. Sounds like you did a good job, and so you're still there, and all these things are taking place. I mean, obviously, this situation is new to everyone. So, and the first lockdown is slightly different from this lockdown, as the first lockdown, closed all the schools and universities and stuff like that. So, brilliant. I mean, the thing is, sometimes we put in a situation, we just have to work out and figure out how to, deal with things. Obviously, with the government regulations in place, you've got to take your own measures. Am I correct to say that?
Of course. But if I come into your first lockdown, because you mentioned why we're different than enterprise, right? Most schools up and down the country struggle to provide decent quality education during the first lockdown, because most of the students, especially from a poorer background, don't have their access to their own devices. They're sharing with family members, they're sharing with parents, and so on. Some of them will not have high-speed internet. But one of the things that we did being an enterprise school, and the dream that I said, you work in city, I provided every student in our school with their own iPad. And more recently, we moved from iPads to Chromebooks, because it's easier to type on. And we were delivering live lessons daily.
Fantastic.
Is it 100% successful? No, it's not. But did the children have access to it? Yes. Small numbers did not engage, because some parents thought they could teach their children. But those of you who've got 3 or 4 children with different age groups,
it's not easy.
It's not easy to teach them and engage them and keep them occupied for 8 to 10 hours. It's tough. It's tough. But not only did we provide that in April, May, June, July, we provided that throughout the summer holiday. I paid a team of staff to provide 4 hours of daily live teaching in the holidays to our children, so they can access English, math, science, and humanities, and
Fantastic.
that's what makes us unique. And that's where I, as someone who set up the school, I can now say that this proportion of my budget is going to go in this area now, so that we can provide that for our family.
Brilliant. Well, those of you who are watching, I'm sure you've learned quite a lot from, and if you teachers at home, you're in the educational sector, then I'm sure this is something that, for myself, I definitely learned something new. Now, coming back to Ashad Bhai, we all have a personal life. As you mentioned, all these stringent measures and stuff like that you took. I mean, there must have been a lot of time that you had to put in, a lot of thinking as well. How did you, what about the family at home? And first of all, do you have a family at home? Just tell me a little bit about yourself.
I do have a family. I have been married nearly 18 years. I've got 2 boys, 15 and 16.
Brilliant. And
they go to school as well. And, trying to teach lessons from home. My wife's a teacher. She's trying to teach her classes. Okay. I'm trying to coordinate the whole school operation. Yeah. So on a typical day, I'd work 10 to 12 hours.
It helps if she's a teacher as well. The understanding is there.
But that means you cannot teach your own children, because you're teaching other people's children when your children are at home in lockdown. Yeah. And if you've got those of families who are 2 similar age children, they're constantly fighting, arguing. There's competition going on. Yeah. And my house is no different. Right? So I do have a personal life. I do have a family life. And for me, we had to make sacrifices, and it was important that I was able to organize staff meetings, give my staff the direction that they need, that they were able to, fully function and provide the reports and feedback to the parents. During the first pandemic, this is a TV program. We were calling all our families every week to make sure that the children were safe, because people are going through all sorts of difficulties and challenges that we were not aware of, and especially when we look at the community that we serve, a lot of our families would have been on cash-in-hand jobs. A lot of them probably would not have been entitled to the full furlough. Some of them would have been self-employed, and household income would have suffered. We delivered food to families who were struggling, and we offered food and vouchers to families who otherwise were not entitled to it, but needed it at that time.
Fantastic.
One thing I will say, it was a proud moment, not just for the educationists, the teachers, but the small businesses came out, in London, in Oldham, my hometown, and they were offering volunteers food and
we definitely saw fantastic initiations, from all angles.
And it brought the best out of people.
Absolutely, yeah. It sounds like you do your job with a passion, and especially, with the situation, you took it seriously, and all the things that you mentioned, I can say is brilliant, fantastic. Now, what would you advise others who want to venture into a similar type of enterprise?
I would like to see more people, some of your viewers setting up their own schools.
How would you encourage them?
The free school program is still available. If they've got a passion in education, they don't have to be teachers. If they've got a passion in education, create a team of people where you've got education experts, where you've got finance experts, where you've got people with leadership qualities, corporate governance, so that in that way you create a team, and the bid is quite intense. You will need definitely an accountant on there, because if the numbers don't stack up, they will just ready and bin it. Outside London, land is available. The government will, once you get through the approval stage, they will fully fund everything else. So the initial outlay, if there's a group of people putting some of their own money for marketing purposes, to try and generate interest amongst people, because you have to show that there will be demand for your school. And that's knocking on doors, that's going outside primary school. That's convincing parents that if I was to open a school, I will consider your school for my children, and going out there marketing your school. This is what every business does.
The reputation's got to be there, obviously, and it looks like you've built a good reputation. Well, all I can say is, thank you for coming to the show. We've definitely learned quite a lot, and especially with the, unprecedented times that we are going through, and the measures and everything that you took. Those of you who would like to venture in a similar type of enterprise, Ashad Bhai is an educator, and is one of the most noble jobs, I would say, because this is what our future is all about: education and going forward, and coming up with new things, and helping society and the world, really. So just want to thank the viewers for watching us today, and until next time, we'll have another entrepreneur who will be sharing his success in the field of business. So until next time, Assalamu alaikum.